Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I've been seeing this video online of North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson basically saying that nobody owes black people reparations. And then this guy goes on to say that black people, in fact, owe reparations to our ancestors. And you know, he cites the example of black people who sacrificed during the civil rights movement, marching for civil rights, going to jail and facing brutality and all those things. And so I just want to take some time to provide my response. For those of you who have not seen that video, when I get a chance, I'll post a link in the comments and in the description to this video. But here's what I have to say. You know, number one, basically what this man is doing is deflecting by bringing up the sacrifices of our ancestors. Without a doubt, we are indebted to our ancestors. We're in debt to them for the sacrifices that they made. Without their sacrifices, we would not be where we are today. Without their sacrifices, we would not be free from slavery. Without their sacrifices, we would not have basic civil rights that we enjoy today. So without a doubt, we honor and respect and cherish our ancestors. And we know about the sacrifices that they made for us. But let's not get distracted. Let's not get deflected away from the very real discussion of reparations. We are owed reparations in this country. And don't use our ancestors as a prop to support opposition to reparations. So here's what I have to say. Here's why we're owed reparations. For hundreds of years, these people enslaved black people. For hundreds of years, our ancestors worked without any compensation. For hundreds of years, our ancestors were property. They were brutalized, they were raped, stripped of everything, stripped of their original identities, their original languages, their original religions, and forced to adopt something that was foreign. You know, families were ripped apart, you know, children sold to one plantation, parents sold to another plantation. We were subjected to the worst treatment that any human being has gone through in human history. Before we even came to this land, when we were on those slave ships, many of our ancestors died during the Middle Passage. Millions of them died during the Middle Passage. And that kind of loss, that kind of suffering has to be paid for. They owe us for that. They owe us for all those years our ancestors worked for free, building the wealth of white America, building the wealth of every single corporation or industry that you can think of. Every single industry in this country profited off of the enslavement of our ancestors. Basically, what they have is unjust enrichment as a result of the suffering of our ancestors. And that's a debt that's owed to us. And the fact of the matter is, slavery isn't something that just happened, you know, a long time ago. Slavery affects us today. It's because of the legacy of slavery that we are in the position that we are in today. It is because of that legacy of slavery and Jim Crow that we have these massive racial disparities that continue to this day. Racial disparities in wealth. You know, as I've cited many times before, there was a study that was mentioned in The Nation magazine that basically said it would take black people over 200 years to earn the same amount of wealth that white people have in this country. So you have racial disparities when it comes to wealth. You have racial disparities when it comes to education. You have racial disparities when it comes to health. You have racial disparities when it comes to the criminal justice system, you know, in terms of sentencing disparities, in terms of incarceration rates. All of these things can be traced back to slavery, to Jim Crow. It was the Jim Crow system that prevented black people from earning wealth. And before I go into that, we just have to mention that black people were held back for hundreds of years in this country because of slavery, weren't even recognized as human beings. While these other people, these white people, were able to build wealth and have centuries of a lead on black people in the race for success and progress and all that. They had hundreds of years of a lead on us. And these same people want to tell us about picking ourselves up by our bootstraps and lecture us about equal opportunity in this country when they have had many hundreds of years of a lead on black people because we were held back while they were able to make laps around the track. So yes, a debt is owed to black people and we're here to collect it. We're not going to be distracted. We're not going to allow people to deflect from that issue of reparations. While all these people were able to build wealth by buying homes and all that kind of stuff and passing it on to their children, black people were redlined. Black people were subjected to racially restrictive covenants that prevented us from buying property in certain areas, and thereby prevented us from building wealth. And in the exceptional situations where you had black communities that were able to build businesses and all that kind of stuff, what happened to those communities? Many of those communities were destroyed by white supremacists, burned to the ground by white supremacists. You know, there are many cities that we can think of. You know, Tulsa, Oklahoma, for instance. So-called Black Wall Street, burned to the ground, destroyed, wiped out. All of those businesses black people build, wiped out. That is the legacy that we're talking about. That is the debt that we're talking about. And it's a shame to see this house Negro, this sellout, this coon basically try to use our ancestors as a political football to justify his nonsense. All these other groups have received reparations, and it's high time that the black man, woman, and child receive theirs. So those are my thoughts. You know, I want to encourage people that aren't familiar with the subject of reparations to read The Debt by the brother from Trans-Africa, the brother who passed away not too long ago. I encourage you to read his book. I encourage you to read Ta-Nehisi Coates' book entitled The Case for Reparations, or his article rather, entitled The Case for Reparations. And I will post a link to that article in the description box of this video. It lays out the case for reparation. It explains why we are owed reparations. So I encourage you all to read those sources. So with that, please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content on here. Peace and blessings. Have a great day.